Welcome, everyone. Today we have Red Boswell from IFPG. Red, welcome to the call.
Thanks, Lance. Excited to be here. Have no idea what we're going to talk about other than franchising, so ready to rock it.
Well, really quick, for anybody who's not familiar with IFPG, can you take a couple minutes and just share?
You bet. International Franchise Professionals Group. We're best known as the world's largest consultant or broker group. We work with hundreds and hundreds of franchisors and hundreds of consultants, as well as vendors to the industry. So we really connect folks, connect franchise professionals, mostly doing deals, changing lives, making some income in the process, and connecting vendors with franchisors, connecting zors with consultants. We're a big connection organization. And then we own some other ancillary support services like one of the largest news networks in franchise, Franchise Wire. We own career transition leads, nurture assist. So anything really in franchising, we support and connect and help folks with.
Nice. Well, I thought, what would be good today with all your experience, because you've actually, before IFPG, you were actually on the franchisor side. So you have a lot of experience, a lot of intelligence. What do you think? I do, I know you. So what do you think about, what can franchisors do to best utilize a network? Because here's what I've seen. When you're new and you go in and you start utilizing a network, just because you're part of a network doesn't mean you're going to get any traction. You actually have to connect with the brands. You have to be able to be presentable. What are all those things that they should think about?
Love it. And guys in the audience, ladies, when he says network, that's the industry. There's a lot of terms for what we do, primarily what we do. The industry, franchising, calls us brokers. We prefer consultant, advisor, matchmaker, coach, lots of great terms. We do so much more than just broker a deal. It's a very much an educational relationship, matchmaking, hand-holding, introducing, a lot of things these hundreds and hundreds of consultants do to support the franchisors and their candidates. So to your point, Lance, yeah, boy, that could be a whole segment itself. Franchisors oftentimes will join a consultant referral group like us, and they sit back and, bring it on, babies. Come on, I'm ready. They treat us like, I don't know, like they're advertising in the Wall Street Journal. They don't realize this is, it's or a pay-per-click where they just turn it on, the leads flow. Now the leads are crap as crap can come, but the leads flow. With consultant groups, referral groups, broker groups, it's a long-term play. It's a relationship, and relationships don't happen overnight, at least mostly, right? So they get to know you, the consultants, know you, the ZOR, get to know you, the franchise development rep representing that franchisor. They get to like you. They ultimately get to trust you. And then that's when the magic really starts to happen. And so that's a big high level answer to your question. What do ZORs doing incorrectly when they're working with referral consultant groups? Well, they're just not treating it like a long-term relationship business. They're joining it and not diving in, not participating in the webinars, participating in all the many, many, many ways, especially with IPG, many ways to get your brand noticed. And I'm not talking get your brand noticed to the consumer. So I can get your brand noticed and ultimately get the consultant to fall in love with you, the franchise development rep, you, the franchisor opportunity, because when that happens, magic happens, lives are changed, and that it really scales quickly. The community talks, the word spreads that you're a legit, awesome opportunity with an incredible franchise development rep who knows how to frickin' frack behind the scenes, who knows how to follow up quickly, to communicate well, and ultimately award franchises. You might call them closed deals, but it's a mutual awarding process. So treating it like a true long-term relationship will make all the difference in the world for that franchisor.
Right, because you think, if you hire an internal sales team, they're there every day working for you. If you buy leads, they just show up. When you work through a group like this, what happens is they are assessing you to make sure that they're not sending their clients to a company that is going to be a bad opportunity for them. They're assessing you to make sure that you have the ability to actually award and close franchisees versus just receive leads and they fall on the ground and turn to nothing. And also you have relationship issues where they have to actually enjoy working with you and like you, and all that stuff comes together. And then the I think the fourth thing would kind of be that they have to have exposure. They have to know that you exist and get to know you. And then you really don't need a ton of them, because a few solid brokers can fill your pipeline pretty good. So can you kind of speak on those things?
Yeah, brother. So an analogy I love is when you've got a franchise opportunity and then you have the franchise development rep that's representing that opportunity. Might be in house, might be out of house. They're still representing that opportunity. They're handling the relationship with that new candidate, wherever the candidate came from, and taking them through the discovery process, ultimately to a changed life by awarding that franchise, right? So the consultant is out there investing their livelihood, their blood, sweat, and tears, their life savings. They're investing that into finding great leads. They're educating those leads. They're building rapport, building that trusted advisor relationship with that lead. Getting to know them, asking lots of questions, scheduling multiple calls, narrowing down the search significantly, talking to them about sort of during that narrowing down, and ultimately narrowing it from 600 plus in our case, franchise opportunities. And really, we, IFPG, have vetted thousands down to that 600. Now the consultant is narrowing it down, down, down. It's a big process helping that candidate really find the right opportunity, not just an okay one, but the ideal opportunity. And so as they've narrowed it down, the consultant, with the candidate's assistance, this is a 0.5% of the ones we vetted. This is a very tight narrowing down. Well, part of that narrowing down is that consultant needs to really trust not just the brand, but the FranDev rep. We talked about that a moment ago, but I just harping on it again. And so an analogy I think makes a lot of sense is if you're a parent and you've got your baby, well, there's nothing more important in the world than your baby. You give your life for that baby, right? In many ways, that consultant's candidate that they have really built a trusted advisor relationship, that's the baby. That's that consultant's baby, man. Thousands of dollars and tons of time have gone into that one, that candidate. Well, the franchisor is, if you got a baby, you're looking for occasionally you got to go on a date with your spouse. And so you need a babysitter. Well, who you going to trust? Who are you going to trust with your baby? Right? So you're going to vet that babysitter big time. Now, maybe you're taking your baby to the babysitter's house, right? That's how it happens. Sometimes they come to you. On this analogy, you're taking it to their house. To me, the house is the franchisor. That house got to be safe for your baby. House got to be in a good neighborhood for your baby to be safe, right? That's important. But you know what's more important? Franchise development rep, who is going to be dealing with, taking care of, feeding, watching my baby. And that franchise development rep, whether it's in-house, whether it's outsourced to an FSO, whoever it is, they better be the best in the world. I'm not settling for second best. This is going to be my livelihood, my candidate's livelihood. I got to know they're the best. And so more important than the house, aka franchisor opportunity, is the franchise development rep. They got to be on their A game. Ain't nobody I'm going to trust my baby with than the very best. And so to your point, Lance, to answer your question and numerous questions mixed in there, it's all about really diving in. The ZOR has to be fully committed, and they have to have a franchise development rep that is fully committed to our industry and to the consultants. Now, you do that in so many ways. I mean, ultimately, that franchise development rep should get with the consultant group, such as IPG, and ask them one-on-one, what can I do more? How can I do it better? And they'll look at their profile. Do you got some good downloads the consultant can share? Have you identified the ideal candidate profile that the consultant can share? Are you registered for their annual conference or biannual conference? Are you getting your live webinar done? Do you have some videos that they can watch and learn more about it? Do you have how many, are you updating it periodically? We got brands that have old content. Are you offering semi-absentee, and are you communicating what the qualifications are for a semi-absentee? Because there's a lot of deals happen in the semi-absentee world. I can go on and on, Lance, but I know it's a long answer to multiple questions, but it's really committing to it and being all in it on a daily basis and not treating it like any other lead source. You'll succeed over time, and it will build and build and build. And 2, 3, 4 years from now, you won't even recognize the organization you've built because of your relationships you've planted seeds in 3, 2, 4 years ago with the consultants.
Absolutely. I see there's some companies that you have such a good I would say you have a good relationship with them because that's built on trust, but also they just seem like a great opportunity for your clients and they handle things professionally. And the big thing I think you'll hear through this whole series is communication.
Mm,
And like an example I had just recently, I took a great client, well-funded, high-level client, introduced him to a big brand, and and I got busy working on this event here, and I wasn't paying attention. I was like, I haven't heard anything, and so I contacted them after 3 weeks,
the
saying, "Hey, I
franchisor.
have franchisor,
Yeah.
which yeah, and a major franchisor." And I contacted them after 3 weeks, and I'm like, "Hey, I haven't heard anything. I can't find anything in my email on what step they are in the process, where they're at, what's left to do, timelines." And they just said, um, we need to reschedule them for this meeting. Well, I don't even know what that meeting is, and that was the whole answer, and they were done.
Mm,
And so I said
next.
something back, and I hadn't heard from them again in 3 weeks. And I said, "Hey, it's been 6 weeks. I only heard from you because I contacted you, and what's going on?" And they gave me a one-line answer again.
Whoa.
And then so I just fired back with like a bunch of questions getting details like, well, they're going to probably close this month. And I'm like, what's the date and what's remaining on the list? And part of it was we just need to redisclose them. And I'm like, well, that takes 2 weeks. Like,
Oh my gosh.
so anyway, so you think about me with that
Not even.
franchisor. It's a big company, they have decent numbers, but I can't work with those reps because they're just um yeah, I don't know if they pay their people more for organic leads versus referrals, or what, but they're just no communication. So those are things that people don't realize because you as the franchisor don't realize what your team is doing when you're
Oh,
not around. And that could be hurting you within the groups and you don't even know it's happening. But that's genuinely when that happens. And then everybody talks, right? So people know this is happening.
they talk, and there's ways the consultants, at least within the IPG system, you can see in real time, anytime the consultant can, and the franchisor can, the average response time to a territory check. That's very telling. That's front end of the pipeline. How engaged are they? How quickly do they respond to territory checks? You're always going to have some outliers that hurt your average a little, but you get 100, 200, 500 territory checks in a year through IPG alone, maybe 1,500 in some cases. You're going to have some easy numbers that the consultants can see how engaged you are. Also, we've got reviews. Consultants not only talk amongst themselves, but in a more mass setting, every Zor has reviews at the bottom of their company profile that the consultants can add to 5-star, 3-star, 2-star, why, explain it, and you know, be be gloat and be proud of them, or tell, hey, run away from these guys, they're clueless. They don't know how to frickin' frack, meaning communicate behind the scenes of how it's going. So critical to success.
Yeah, if you're not going to communicate, don't think they're going to bring you more of those leads, because that lead to a consultant is 1, 2, 3 months income, and they have expenses behind that, and they need they by the time they brought them to you, they've narrowed it down to usually or maybe one company, and so this is their shot, so they're expecting you to take good care of it. They've spent the time to really whittle them down.
Yeah. And two things to note too, oftentimes it's three companies, so that, hey, if you're not doing your job, no problem. We got two more that they're working it right. And the consultant is typically checking in, having that ongoing cadence on a weekly basis, give or take, with their candidates. So, things aren't happening in that first week, second week. Oh, moving on. You got to be on it. The consultant is working with the candidate still, holding their hand, massaging this deal all the way to completion.
Yeah, I don't have a complete list here, but definitely one of the things is you appreciate the companies that will give you an email at each step or after each communication. Like you get synopsis, that creates trust. And then what they don't realize is it might seem like a handoff, but on our side, we still have to keep the franchisor, the client, and the lender all communicating and all on the same page with dates and timelines and handle things, and we might get objections that you don't get, and we can't assist you or help if there's no communication or slow communication.
Yeah, you are that trusted advisor in the relationship. If the franchisor is not utilizing you to your fullest potential, they're going to be gone. They're not going to get any more deals. And also, you mentioned that email. We train our franchisors. No, they don't always listen, but and the consultants. Ask the consultant how they want to be communicated with. Maybe it's a text. Maybe it's a phone call. Maybe it is an email. And then lastly, on that communication part regarding frick and frack, in the IPG system, we have a deal tracker where the ZOR can update the lead, the candidate in the process, where they don't have to text, email, or phone call to the consultant unless there's something more thorough they need to discuss. And it tracks every candidate and where they are in the discovery process with each franchisor. Boy, it makes it beautiful, great, simple tool and uh, map visual to understand where every candidate is with every franchisor. We love it. The consultants love it. The ZORs love it. It makes their the company and the process run more efficiently, saving time and money, and everybody wins.
Absolutely. Well, if you were to go through a list of, the things that you think from all these things from, how they interact, let's just talk about how they interact with the brokers. What would be the top list of things you think that franchisors should make sure they do with brokers?
Wow. I should have, you know, I love that these are impromptu questions, but let's see. Number one, have your company profile all the way rocking. I mean, everything I mentioned earlier from the ideal candidate profile. So many ZORs don't really explain who you're looking for. I mean, help us, throw some bone here. Who are you looking for? Um, the responses, the territory checks, the downloads, the videos, the item 7, heck, item 19. Give all the information you possibly can in your company profile to make you an attractive opportunity. Don't make the consultant call you. Don't make them go to extra work. They're going to just pass on you. Make it easy and show that you know what you're doing. Next, be fully involved, engaged, as we mentioned. Have a quick response to territory checks. Are you getting an email? Or are you getting a text and an email on your territory checks? That text, as we all know, gets responded to a lot quicker than an email. And then are you following up with them properly? In that response to a territory check, are you just saying available, send, being lazy? Maybe you're going fast, but lazy. Or are you responding with enthusiasm, personalization? Give them a reason or ammunition to show you. Don't just say it's available. Say, yeah, it's available. And our top franchisee is across town. They're doing this, that. Here's my phone number. Let's talk. Show enthusiasm, personalization, and a reason to show you when you respond to those territory checks. We're known as the territory check organization. We've got an easy TC tool. Consultants utilize it incredibly, but then I get ZORs go, Rad, I'm getting all these territory changes. I'm not getting registration. I'm not getting candidates introduced. What's the deal? And then we talk through, well, what percentage of them are getting done? Here's why. Are you responding quickly? And then I go through what we just talked about, give them a lot more best practices. As here's the analogy I use with them is a territory check from a franchise consultant to the franchisor checking to see if an area is available is sort of like when you're single and you're at the church, you're at the bar, you're at wherever you meet the person you're interested in meeting. When you walked up, you see a cutie or something, you walk up to them, tap them on the shoulder and go, how you doing? Give them that Joey Tribbiani there. That's kind of like a territory check. It's an at bat. You're checking to see how the interest is and if there's availability. Well, if that franchisor, aka the person you just tapped on the shoulder, sits there for 10 seconds, that's 10 hours on a territory check. It's torture. And then they turn around and go, I'm good. And then go back around. That's saying available, send. ZORs do it every second of our day pretty much. Available, send. 10 hours later. Man, you tap on somebody's shoulder, they wait 10 seconds, say, yeah, I'm good, and turn back around, you are gone. And so they turn around quickly, smile, hey, you hand out, how are you? You come here often? Where are you from? What's your name? That is a responsive territory check with enthusiasm, personalization, and a reason to keep talking to me. Okay, so take advantage of those territory checks, follow up with them, get that phone number, etc. So a big one is having your act together, your opportunity well presented, responding, engaged, and with the consultant. And then to your point that we've been talking about, get that frickin' frack on fire with communicating back and forth nonstop to move this candidate to a whole new life with that franchisor.
Yep, I agree with you. I think it's about being a team versus thinking of it as a handoff.
Mm.
And there's some Zors that you're just like they're treating them like free leads. Like this is client is my baby, and it's just treated like free leads that don't matter. So I
And
agree
you
with.
know what? I'm tell you what, dude. I'll apologize for interrupting. Can consultants do it too? Those consultants who just hand it off and wait for, give me the money. Where's my money? No, man, this is partnership. It's two-way street. You follow up with them. Give me updates. I'm waiting for your update. I'm giving you updates. Back and forth. Equal frickin' frack. It's not frick. It's not frack. It's frick and frack. So we got to get it working together in that three-way relationship.
It's what makes it freaking amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right. The better communication, you'll close more deals and you'll create more of a friendship. If you want a relationship with the broker, that's how you do it. Um, what when I like saying fill out all the details about the company and have all those promotional pieces, because sometimes you're looking at things in the middle of the night. You can't talk with anybody. You're just doing your research, and sometimes you're sending a territory check like 10 minutes before presenting because you're like, you know
Yes.
what about this last company? Maybe I'll introduce this last company. So that's why that last minute thing is like whether you're in or out, just because it was a whimsical thing. Maybe I'll add these guys,
Yeah, yeah.
and
And that ideal candidate profile, so many Zors just go, oh, I mean, we take anybody, they give me something really tight. Like there's a modest senior care. I still remember 3 years ago, I'm reading their profile and I see ideal candidate and they give the usual must follow a proven system for success and be coachable, all the platitudes you see on every franchise. But then they said, if your candidate has ever been in pharmaceutical sales, please send them to us. I'm like, dude, laser focused. They know their ideal candidate. I called up Marcos over there and like, dude, where did you get that? What did that come from? He goes, we had a couple of franchisees come in. Both of them coincidentally had pharmaceutical sales. They killed it. We realized they've got that profile, the training they go through to get to that successful pharmaceutical sales career is ideal to who we're looking for. And he said, boom, we started looking, marketing, targeting pharmaceutical sales reps. It's been golden. Half our franchisees have a pharmaceutical sales rep background. I was like, I love this. Now, I don't expect every Zor to have that much of a laser focused definition of ideal candidate, but the more you can give the consultant to help them find the ideal candidate for you, the better.
mm-hmm, exactly. I appreciate that because that helps me, when I'm working with clients to get an idea that maybe I should discuss this for sure. Well, what are some things really quick that a franchisor should have about themselves? There's two things that I'm thinking about. There, you have
Okay.
the sales process, right? Because established systems have a very organized sales process.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
New companies sometimes are like, let's just talk it out. Like, I'll just answer their questions, give them a 5 minute spiel, and they're going to buy this $250,000 franchise. So sales questions, and then questions about, what makes them look really good. So picking the first one, what makes a franchise look really good to a broker and a client?
And item 19, tell you what, a lot of Zors I talk to might not have an item 19. Ask them why. And they say, oh, the attorney said all we have is corporate locations. We can't really have one. Go get you a new attorney. Get a second opinion. Give me a break here. You can't have item 19 numbers because they're corporate units. Whatever. You want disclosure. How do you even talk about financial performance representations without an item 19? You can't. And what buyer is going to invest in an opportunity without some insights in that? Now, sure, you can go through validation, but a lot of them aren't going to get to the validation stage with the current Z's without item 19 numbers. Now, you may be saying, yeah, Red, but you just said in that scenario, they don't have any Z's. It's all corporate units. You can still talk to the managers at those locations. You can talk to people in the process that have no financial gain with you buying that franchise. You can disclose as a franchisor numbers in the corporate units. So an item 19 is so important these days as, 80+% of growing franchisors, probably 95% of growing franchisors have an item 19. And the consultants would love to have some insights into it as well. Um, what else can they do that's best practices in the process of communication? Defining a semi-absentee model, help more insight. So many great buyers are interested in more of a semi-absentee, building a lifestyle. Maybe they're a high-level exec that's not going to leave that income. Do you accept it? When do you accept it? How do you accept it? Do they have to have a manager for, up front? Does the manager have to have equity? Do you train the manager? Do they still, the buyer still have to be involved at least 20 hours a week? Really clearly defined semi-absentee can help immensely. And then, there's been changes with the SBA registry and how that's working, but still make lending as easy as possible with documented, back to the item 19, documented item 19, and um, have everything you need so that the SBA, the banks can make it simple and clear for deals to get done faster, easier, because we know time kills deals. Another one, Lance, is a visual of your discovery process. Hey, you got 8 steps. Awesome. Let's get a clear visual. Half the world are visual people. You can tell them the steps, rat bomb. Give them a visual. Remind them of it on every call. You're booking every call during this call, right? This call, I'm going to book the next one. So you're booking that. These are some fundamental sales success factors here, best practices. And we all, most everybody hates the word sell. They like to buy, but they don't like to be sold, right? Well, we are a trusted advisor, but there are simple principles in the trusted advisor relationship that any good salesperson follows as well. So whether you call yourself a salesperson, you admit it or not, you have some principles that you need to follow. One is booking a call, the next call, on this call, showing them where they are in the process on every call. We're going to be at this step next call, and communicating that freaking frack 3-way back and forth. Being at the retreat, the annual conference, being at regionals, getting in their magazine, doing audio podcasts, video podcasts, following the systems and utilizing the marketing pieces that the consultant referral group utilizes and offers to you can make a huge difference too. How are they going to get to know you? How's the consultant going to get to know you, like you, trust you, if you're not doing things to get them to know you, like you, trust you? So providing them those tools and resources, but also getting out there, shaking the hands, flesh to flesh, breaking bread, and building the relationships of trust. I say every regional discovery mixer that we have 6 to 8 of them a year. I say every time, this is where deals start. This is where the deals began. What do you mean, Red? We're just having lunch, we're having dinner, we're having drinks, we're doing speed networking, we're visiting some locations. Yeah, none of those deals in 3 months, 6 months, 10 months, none of those deals are going to happen had this not happened first, the relationship building and the understanding of the opportunities. So I know I'm giving you a lot of answers here to a complex question, but it really is a complex issue that when done right can be absolute gold for the consultant, for the ZOR, for the candidate, for the community.
Absolutely. I from being at those types of events, I can tell you that that's absolutely where you start seeing the franchise reps and the franchisors as your friends, and you start to you get to know them, and then you're like, when you talk with your clients, you're like, oh, I know these guys, they're great. Like, you know them, not versus they're just answering questions for you.
Dude, how do you think I got this job, my calling here with IFPG? And I've been here over 4 years as president. I was a franchise development rep. I was a franchisor before that, but I was a rep probably 8 years working with all consultant groups all over. And I got this reputation for reliability, good communicator, friendly guy, likable character, good leader. He knows franchising, knows our world, good frickin' fracker. I built that relationship. And then when I left a franchisor, I had 2 of the top groups in the world contact me. Hey, we want to talk to you about coming on board with us and being our president. I wasn't even trying. I was going to be on the ZOR side forever. But because I did what you just said, Lance, following through on every piece of the puzzle, built that reputation that I didn't even know they were watching me so closely. And ultimately, blessed with this amazing career that I've built now, building IFPG to, we've 10x'd our size and profitability in 4 years, because of people see we care, and we've got the best consultants out there because of our model.
Well, do you have time for another question, or are you
Let's
good?
bring it on, buddy. I'm
Okay.
all over it. Yeah,
All
this
right.
is fun.
So with the sales process, we talked about that earlier, and the funny thing is that you brought up that I wanted to bring up
Oh,
is that
okay.
you talked about people having to have an item 19. I
Yeah.
have worked with a lot of clients. I've never once had a client say, Lance, I have a ton of money. I don't care if this thing makes any money. I just need to spend it and quick.
It doesn't happen.
No,
No.
no, they're looking for an investment. And in some cases, this is a career that if it falls apart, everything falls apart for them. And so the biggest thing is this going to pay my monthly bills? And is it going to actually crumble or is it going to stay in business? And so what you're saying is they do have to focus on having a way to focus on their item 19 because that's the core. That's what people are buying. And so if you're not ready to present that, or if your numbers are not good, you need to like go back to home and fix it there and then bring it out. You can't keep selling something that's limping along. You have to make it. If you make something amazing, it'll sell itself.
Yeah, yeah, and extension of that, Lance, is so many Zors feel like they've got the greatest opportunity in the world, greatest opportunity to slice bread. This thing is going to take over the world. They love it. It's their baby, and their baby's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Now, I may think their baby's a dog, but their baby's golden, right? They think people are just gonna be lining up and buying it. They've got to. In the Bible, it says when you get married, you leave your family, your parents, and you cleave to your spouse. Leave and cleave. And I use that analogy with a Zor. I talk to these emerging Zors all day long, and they're going to keep running their local original business, and they're going to try to be a franchisor. Heck, they may even try to be the franchise development rep on top of that. Lunacy. I did that starting out, but at least I knew I couldn't run my original business and be a franchisor. You got to leave that business. You can still own it. You got to get some full-time management all day long. You are a Zor. This is not just your mistress. This is your new family, and it's going to be 100 times bigger than that original business, but it needs your full-time attention. And to the next level, you can't be a franchise development rep and run the entire franchisor organization. Two separate roles. So get somebody great in the franchise development role that knows their stuff inside and out. Not just your neighbor, your used car salesman, your cousin Eddie. Get somebody that really knows franchising inside and out, that has a reputation. You can ride their coattails of their reputation within the consultant community, especially to a faster success rate than just learning as you go and burning leads left and right and developing a bad reputation in the process.
Right, because also they might have all those relationships that we've already talked about established. And on
Yeah.
day one, they get their head wrapped around your business and they can run.
Yeah. Those guys aren't cheap. I say often there's nothing more expensive than a cheap attorney. There's nothing more expensive than a cheap CPA. And in many ways, guys, there's nothing more expensive than a cheap franchise development rep. Pay for a good one, you're going to get good results as long as you got a good model. And the good ones know if you've got a good model. So,
From your experience as a franchisor and from a consultant group and everything that you've done, what is what is a good basic framework? Because it's going to be tweaked and different with different companies. But what's a good basic framework to follow for a sales process or awarding process for a franchise?
people, time is of the essence more than ever, and the access to information is at an all-time high, right? With the Amazons of the world. So many candidates and social media and everything else. So many candidates are researching everything well before they talk to you. There's like, I don't want to talk to some sales guy. And guess what? 20 years ago, hey, we own this process. Here's my info. Oh, let's have a call before I give you my brochure. You need to fill this form out before we talk more than 10 minutes. Guess what? The candidate, the consumer is in control more than ever. So you can deny it, you can fight it, and you will fail. So get them as much info. The videos, the social media, they're just tons and tons of info. Guess what? If you're not providing that info, someone else is, and they're probably your competition. Provide as much videos and content and excitement and interest and visuals, everything possible out there in all the different media that you can, because the candidate is researching it prior to ever talking to you. And then once they talk to you, guess what? Because you've done it properly, because you've educated them properly, whether they came from a consultant or not, now they're going to go through the process faster. They're going to likely be much more qualified because you've weeded out through your clear communication before they ever talk to you. You've weeded out folks who don't meet that criteria because you've communicated the proper criteria, and they are more engaged, more in love, and they're going to close faster. They're going to be better franchisees. So clearly providing so much communication beforehand, and then once they're in the process, again, book the next call on this call so you're not chasing them. Give them homework on every call. Give the freaking frack, tell the consultant, if it's from a consultant, what the homework was so they can hold them accountable on each call. Just being on your A game, man. Don't treat this like so many Zors just don't follow up. They don't respond. They don't freaking frack. I mean, we're a broken record on this call, but if you're engaged with the communication up front, during, after, it's going to be a more fun life. You're going to get better candidates, better Z's, more profitable, make more money, have more fun. This can be the greatest career in the world for the right folks, or it can just be a miserable failure for folks who aren't really following, communicating, and providing the right content.
Absolutely. You talked about, it can be a miserable failure. I would think as a franchisor, when you're first getting started, that's when you have the most money, right? The longer your franchise development goes and you're not bringing on franchisees, you're being drained. So you got to make good decisions up front, not have a long learning curve. So listening to information like this can help you take action and get results while you're still in a good place versus getting fed up. And I think you're right, is they don't want to be wearing all hats. You have to do this, and that motto, thought of exposure, having exposure to find franchisees is good, but access to you, I think, is even better. Because like you said, is they're going to start doing their research, and if they have access to even one other guy and no access to you, they're learning about them and they're going to forget about you because they're digging deep into that content. So they have to have that, which makes me think of the marketing materials that people put out. Some of it can be very effective, some of it isn't. But I would think that when they get to know the people, it could be the founders or all the people, that creates a human connection and they feel like they know you. And then they look forward to, I actually finally am going to get to meet Red. Like, this is cool, like it means something versus just our CEO, which I don't know, that might feel like meeting the CEO where you're currently working, which may or may not be a good experience. But meeting Red, well, I've seen him on video, I've listened to him, I like this guy.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the marketing materials they should do, and which ones aren't necessarily getting them the bang for their bucks? Like, where should they put their attention?
Video is stronger than ever. We're in a video world now, right? And short, sweet video snippets. I know this is a probably 30-40 minute interview, you and I, but you're going to make it into a whole bunch of little snippets, right? You're going to cut it out and parse it, and folks are a lot more likely to watch that 30-second to 2-minute versus the 20 or 40-minute. So a bunch of great little snippets, testimonials in written form, and video certainly can be a powerful, powerful tool. Have your YouTube channel, have your Instagram, have your TikTok, maybe have your LinkedIn, have all those, and don't just post once a year. Keep it up to date. Most Zors are not social media freaks like I am. And so get somebody that loves that gets your brand, and get them not just posting, generic stuff that people can see through some cold PR firm up in Biloxi or wherever. Biloxi ain't up, but anyway, so some PR firm that doesn't live my brand day in, day out, grab some stock photos and posted something generic about be in business for yourself, but not by yourself, with us. Make it real. I mean, I am so committed to authenticity, and this world now is as well. They can see through it, and I post stuff. I'll do one take, post it. I don't even have captions. Now I'll probably get a few more views with the captions, but I just want it real, raw, and they see the passion, they see the love, they see your brand as it is, and they know this guy really just did that on one take. You can just tell, because there's little funny bloopers mixed in. So I just love the authenticity. And to your point, video is number one, and the authenticity of the video, of the interview, of the testimonial, of the live at an event can make a huge difference. And Lance, if I may, go back for a second. You mentioned some mistakes franchisors are making. I'll give you 3 quick ones. Low franchise fee. Get that franchise fee up there. Stop being wimpy and saying, oh, we're new, we got to have it low. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's a life decision. Get it up there. You got a lot to pay for. You ain't going to lose a deal over a $20,000 franchise fee increase. Number two, underfunded. Franchisor is going to take you a lot more money, a lot more time than you ever imagined. You got to be funded well, or you're going to crash and burn. And number three that came to mind, just wrote down resells. Have a resale program. Now, you're brand new. You're not going to have resales for a long time. Get a resale program, A to Z, everything about it. Who's obligated to what? Commissions from the seller to the consultant. Can a franchisee sell a candidate invalidation their franchise? Man, it happens a lot. A candidate's invalidation, they're doing validation with a Z. Z says, buy my franchise. Okay, what does that Z have to pay the ZOR? What's their financial obligation, ZOR? More importantly, to the consultant. Can they even do that at all? So just get that documented from day one in the ops manuals, in your training. Remind them of it often. Those three things are huge. I deal with them almost daily, those three. And if you can get those three handled, you're halfway there to overcoming a lot of mistakes franchisors make early on.
Absolutely. Red, you're a fountain of wisdom. I
Tell my wife.
Next event. All right. Well, I appreciate you, and I just wanted to thank you for your insights and these kind of processes and steps that you've shared with us. And I would tell anybody, if you're looking to have consultants help you with your franchise business or looking to be a consultant, go to this link by this video here, and you can just go right over to IFPG and check it out. They would appreciate you. They're well known, huge company. Awesome. Thanks, Red.
You're awesome, Lance. Appreciate everybody on here. Franchising is a wonderful industry. Lance is a great, great consultant, and we'd be honored to help get you clarity on this model, help you figure out if IFPG is the right fit for you and what you want to accomplish. Let's go do it. Thanks, Lance.
Thanks.